Malaysia applies to join BRICS. Malaysia making great strides to reclaim Asian tiger status. Salam Malaysia Madani, I am Olivia Nicholas and you're watching Malaysia Tonight. Malaysia has sent an application to Russia to join the BRICS intergovernmental organisation. Russia is the chairman of the organisation that also groups Brazil, India, China and South Africa. Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim said Malaysia's desire to join the BRICS organisation was the main essence of his discussion with visiting Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who called on the Prime Minister today at the Sri Perdana complex. In a statement issued by the Prime Minister's office today, Dato Sri Anwar said Malaysia has also expressed openness to participate as a member country or strategic partner. Meanwhile, Lavrov said Russia welcomes Malaysia's interest in BRICS and will help promote this interest. BRICS, which initially included Brazil, Russia, India and China, was established in 2009 as a cooperation platform for emerging economies, with South Africa joining the bloc in 2010. The bloc now has been expanded to include Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates. BRICS now contributes to a quarter of the global economy, accounts for 1/5 of global trade and represents about 40% of the world's population. Earlier, Lavrov and his delegation, who arrived at the Sri Perdana complex at 10 a.m., were welcomed by Foreign Minister Dato Sri Mohamad Hassan. During the nearly hour-long meeting, Dato Sri Anwar and Lavrov also discussed strengthening Malaysia-Russia relations and expanding cooperation in various sectors, including trade, investment, security, defence, higher education, science and technology, tourism and culture. The current situation in Palestine was also discussed, with Malaysia emphasizing the urgent need for a permanent ceasefire and rapid humanitarian aid in Gaza, as well as Palestine's acceptance as a full member of the United Nations. Regarding Ukraine, Dato Sri Anwar also called for dialogue and discussions as the means to resolve the conflict. The government will carry out cloud seeding in Kedah and Perak for 3 consecutive days starting tomorrow. Deputy Prime Minister Dato Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the operations aim to increase water levels for agricultural and domestic use in the Bukit Merah and Muda dams in Perak and Kedah respectively. Referring to data from the National Water Services Commission on Friday, Dato Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid noted that the current level of the Muda Dam is at 9.44%, while the Bukit Merah Dam stands at 15.25%. The cloud seeding is being coordinated by the National Disaster Management Agency, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, the Malaysian Meteorological Department and the Royal Malaysian Air Force. Currently, water from the Muda Dam is being channeled to the Perdu Dam in Kedah to meet domestic, industrial and paddy irrigation needs. He highlighted that the Muda area is Malaysia's largest rice bowl, whereas the paddy fields in Kerian, which receive water from the Bukit Merah Dam, constitute the 3rd largest rice bowl. In another development, the Deputy Premier supported the move by the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, to require all social media and internet messaging services to apply for an application service provider class license under the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998, Act 58A. He said it is a step in the right direction, which could deal with the increase in cybercrime cases, including the use of fake accounts on social media, as well as spreading negative perceptions of the government.
Banyak negara-negara yang tidak menggunakan saluran media yang ada sekarang. China umpamanya tidak ada saluran media yang sama semua dengan kita. Mereka ada cara sendiri untuk mengawal. Singapura juga mendaftarkan. Ya. Banyak negara-negara lain yang mendaftar supaya setiap netizen itu bertanggungjawab kepada apa yang ditulisnya, bukan melempar tetapi sembunyi tangan.
MCMC yesterday stated all social media and internet messaging services with at least 8 million registered users in this country need to apply for an application service provider class license under the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. The move will come into force from the 1st of January 2025. Additional placement for Indian students to pursue TVET in China.
Sportcast edisi Paris 2024. Hangatkan lagi semangat Olimpik anda dengan sembang santai yang berkonsepkan podcast. Isu-isu sukan Olimpik dikupas dengan pendekatan yang lebih menarik. 27 Julai hingga 12 Ogos, 1.30 minit petang di saluran sukan RTM.
India is making great strides to reclaim its Asian tiger status. Finance Minister to Dato Sri Amir Hamzah Azizan said he has also received great feedback regarding Malaysia's strong economic performance during meetings and investors and analysts who expressed optimism about the country's future growth. He explained that the Madani government has successfully maintained 21 months of stability so far after a series of changes in government and the COVID-19 pandemic, which halted the country's economic progress. Last year, the government's total operating expenditure was 311 billion ringgit, of which 81 billion went towards social assistance and subsidy support, while another 48% was spent on pensions, civil service remuneration, and other liabilities. Meanwhile, Dato Sri Amir Hamzah said the ministry is currently collecting ideas and feedback from the rakyat and interest groups as part of its preparatory works for Budget 2025. The ministry is committed to listening to innovative ideas and concerns which can be made through the Budget 2025 proposal section of the MOF website. The government will send 200 Indian students to attend technical and vocational education and training TVET courses in China. Deputy Prime Minister Dato Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who is also the National TVET Council Chairman, said if the target is successful, 200 more Indian students will be sent under the same program. The government opened up opportunities for students of various races, including from Sabah and Sarawak, to get the experience of studying TVET in China. He said this is evidence that there is no bias or discrimination, as everyone has the opportunity to undergo TVET training regardless of their race. Earlier, the Chinese government was reported agreeing to offer scholarships to 1,000 Malaysian students to undergo TVET courses in the country. The Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry is activating a mass movement involving the public to combat the misappropriation of subsidized control goods in Sabah and Sarawak, especially diesel and RON 95. Its Minister Dato' Armizan Muhammad Ali in a statement today said this movement is crucial to ensure that the targeted groups can enjoy the initiative.
Gerakan ini akan melibatkan rakyat atau orang ramai dalam khususnya membuat pelaporan dan pemantauan. Yang kedua, fokus gerakan ini akan kita tumpukan kepada ketirisan subsidi bahan api, diesel dan juga RON 95. Yang ketiga, akan dimulakan di Sabah dan Sarawak.
He added that the key factor behind the federal government's decision to continue the subsidy in Sabah, Sarawak and Labuan is the high dependency of its consumers on diesel-powered vehicles. It is also due to the considerations of the potential ripple effects where the prices of goods and services are higher compared to those in Peninsular Malaysia, as well as the level of readiness and access to information among diesel users to implement subsidy profiling. Negeri Sembilan Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Aminuddin Harun will meet with the state leadership of Melaka and Johor to further discuss the proposed setting up of a southern gateway economic corridor. The proposed economic corridor will prioritise the industrial and investment sectors, thus enabling it to have an impact especially on the economic chain of the states involved and the welfare of the people.
Ya, kita telah bincang perkara tersebut tapi tak secara yang detail, dan kita akan adakan satu pertemuan insya-Allah dalam tak kira di mana siapa akan menjadi tuan rumah, khususnya kita tiga negeri iaitu Johor, Melaka dan Negeri Sembilan, dan itu juga satu perkara yang penting juga. Kita antara negeri yang tidak punya koridor.
The Menteri Besar was met after opening the Negeri Sembilan Fest 2024 at Dataran Nilai. 3 days ago, Melaka Chief Minister Dato Sri Abdul Rauf Yusof said a steering committee will be formed to initiate discussions, coordination and studies related to the establishment of the economic corridor. The 2024 agriculture census by the Department of Statistics Malaysia, or DOSM, is progressing smoothly with a 20% completion nationwide since it began on the 7th of July. Chief Statistician Dato Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin stated that a total of 251,371 visits have been carried out, with Sabah recording the highest number, followed by Johor and Sarawak. He said this census is a strategic initiative to collect comprehensive and current data on the status and development of Malaysia's agricultural sector. The data will be used to plan more effective policies, strategies and interventions to boost the sector's competitiveness and resilience. Dato Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair urged all involved parties to provide honest and accurate information to the census takers to ensure the effectiveness of the data. He emphasized that the success of the program depends on the collective effort to generate accurate data, as precise information is crucial. The 2024 agriculture census, which will conclude on the 10th of October, covers 4 main subsectors, namely crops, livestock, aquaculture and forestry. It is the 4th such census conducted in Malaysia, the last one being in 2005. SME Bank Group President and Chief Executive Officer Dato Arya Putera Ismail will leave the organisation at the end of his tenure to pursue new opportunities. Group Chief Corporate Strategy Officer Dato Dr. Muhammad Hadi Ibrahim has been set to assume the role of Acting Group President and CEO starting from the 3rd of September 2024. Dato Dr. Muhammad Hadi brings over 20 years of extensive experience in the financial services industry, specializing in business banking and strategic management. He has served SME Bank in numerous portfolios, including Treasury Corporate Finance, Business Banking and most recently Corporate Strategy. SME Bank said that under Dato Arya Putera's 6-year leadership, he has paved the way for the bank to fulfill its mandate in supporting and developing small and medium enterprises in Malaysia. The bank has shown tremendous improvement in asset quality and financing growth during his tenure, with the gross financing amount recording at 37.6% growth from 6.47 billion ringgit in 2018 to 8.9 billion ringgit as at end 2023. Meanwhile, the gross impaired rate reduced to 12.5% from 22.9%. Japan's Mitsubishi Motors is set to join an alliance between Honda Motor and Nissan Motor, creating an auto group with combined sales of more than 8 million vehicles. According to Nikkei Business Daily, Mitsubishi Motors, which is 34% owned by Nissan, will work with Honda and Nissan to finalize the details of their partnership, but the three firms intend to standardize in vehicle software that controls cars. The push comes as Nissan, Japan's third biggest automaker, has been steadily losing market share in its two largest markets, the United States and China, which together accounted for half of its global sales in the year to March. Nissan and Honda said in March they were considering a strategic partnership to collaborate on producing key components for electric vehicles and artificial intelligence in automotive software platforms. Still ahead, Ministry Wisma Putra monitors safety of students in Bangladesh. The Higher Education Ministry constantly monitors the safety of students still in Bangladesh through cooperation with Wisma Putra. Its Minister Dato Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir said, according to Wisma Putra, approximately 40 students from higher education institutions are among the Malaysians remaining in Bangladesh.
Dan saya dipahamkan bahawa yang berada di sana sebahagian mereka adalah yang bekerja dalam sektor-sektor tertentu yang tidak ramai tapi yang profesional, ya, ini bukan pekerja biasa, yang profesional, dan juga pelajar yang mana mereka rasa bahawa mereka tidak tidak terganggu dengan keadaan yang berlaku di sana.
He added that most of the Malaysians in Bangladesh are currently students in their final year of studies. On the 23rd of July, a total of 123 Malaysians, including 80 students, were brought home from Bangladesh on a special flight under the directive of Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim. They have been given counselling services, and the ministry is considering the next steps for the students who have returned to Malaysia. In a related development, a Bangladeshi student group has vowed to resume protest unless several of their leaders are released from custody. Last week's violence killed at least 205 people in one of the biggest upheavals of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's 15-year tenure. Members of Students Against Discrimination, whose campaign against civil service job quotas precipitated the unrest, said they would end their week-long protest moratorium. In an online briefing, they wanted the group's chief Nahid Islam and others be free and the cases against them must be withdrawn. The group also demanded visible actions be taken against government ministers and police officers responsible for the deaths of protesters. Islam and two other senior members of the protest group were on Friday forcibly discharged from hospital in the capital Dhaka and taken away by a group of plainclothes detectives. While a curfew imposed last weekend remains in force, it has been progressively eased through the week in a sign of the Hasina government's confidence that order was gradually being restored. Telecommunications Minister Zunaid Ahmed Palak told reporters the country's mobile internet network would be restored later today, 11 days after a nationwide blackout imposed at the height of the unrest. The Philippines has postponed the removal of fuel from a tanker that sank in Manila Bay with fears of an environmental catastrophe growing as leaking oil reached shore for the first time. Philippine Coast Guard said the siphoning of the 1.4 million litres of industrial fuel oil from the vessel's hold was pushed back to Tuesday at the earliest so divers could seal 9 leaking valves first. It said the leaking oil had now reached a patch of shoreline in Hagonoy municipality around 40 kilometres northwest of Manila. Coast Guard cleanup teams were dispatched to the area today to spray oil dispersant. The Coast Guard has warned that if the entire cargo were to leak, it would be an environmental catastrophe. It has also called for a suspension of fishing in Manila Bay to prevent people eating contaminated fish. Meanwhile, another Coast Guard team was dispatched to the mouth of Manila Bay yesterday to join the search for an unspecified number of crew members who were aboard a second tanker that sank nearby. The wreck of the MTKR Jason Bradley has been located and a salvage will follow, a Coast Guard statement said, adding it had no cargo on board. The sinkings occurred as heavy rains fueled by Typhoon Gaimi and the seasonal monsoon lashed Manila and surrounding regions in recent days. Continued heavy rainfall from tropical storm Gaimi triggered a landslide that killed 12 people in China's southern Henan province, caused flash floods in the northeast and railway disruptions elsewhere. Cyclonic winds from Gaimi, downgraded from a typhoon, had mostly dissipated by Sunday, but many parts of China remained under alert for flooding risk caused by earlier rains. Images on state broadcaster CCTV showed extensive flooding throughout many parts of South and Southeast China. The most powerful storm to hit the country this year lashed towns on coastal Fujian province last Friday with heavy rains and strong winds. Gaimi, which killed dozens as it swept through Taiwan and worsened seasonal rains in the Philippines, has affected almost 630,000 people in Fujian, with almost half of them being relocated. The heads of the defense departments of Japan, the United States and South Korea, Minoru Kihara, Lloyd Austin and Shin Wong-sik, signed a memorandum to make security cooperation more systematic at a trilateral meeting in Tokyo. The memorandum aims to make cooperation in information exchange and joint exercises more organized. The sides expressed serious concern about North Korea's missile launches and its increased military cooperation with Russia and condemned these actions. The ministers agreed to hold such meetings on a regular basis, as well as to develop cooperation to effectively counter future provocations or threats. The memorandum includes provisions for annual high-level meetings, strengthening cooperation on information exchange regarding North Korean ballistic missile launches in real time, and the organized and efficient conduct of joint exercises. In June, Japan, the US and South Korea held a trilateral military drills in the East China Sea. Coming up in sports, Pearly Tina on course for quarter-final. Swimming suffers setback at Paris. Top national women's pair Pearly Tan and Tina kept their quarterfinals hopes alive by scoring an upset win over world number 6 Mayu Matsumoto Wakana Nagahara of Japan in the 2024 Olympic Games badminton competition this morning. The world number 13 ranked Malaysians gave a spirited display to beat the 2018 and 2019 world champions 18-21, 21-15, 21-16 in the Group A match at Porta de la Chapela Arena. Pearly Tina led 11-7 in the opening game but faltered to let the Japanese win 21-18. Spurred by the support of the 8,000-strong crowd, Pearly Tina played more aggressively to lead early in the second game before romping to a 21-15 win to force a rubber game. In the decider, Pearly Tina continued to rattle the Japanese with powerful attacks and clinch victory, stretching the head-to-head record to 4-2 in favour of the Malaysians. Pearly Tina need to beat Apriyani Rahayu Siti Fadia Silva Ramadhanti of Indonesia in their final group match on Tuesday to qualify for the quarterfinals. In swimming, despite winning, Malaysian athletes still competing in the 2024 Paris Olympics, especially those in the Road to Gold RTG program, are urged to remain focused on their mission to bring home the nation's first gold medal from the prestigious event. Youth and Sports Minister Hannah Yeoh advised the athletes to make the most of the time to prepare thoroughly, adding that the Malaysian Secretariat at the Games is ready to assist any athlete in need.
Saya berharap yang lain akan terus memanfaatkan masa di Paris. Setiap hari itu sangat bernilai untuk mereka dan saya berharap atlet-atlet Road to Gold akan terus yakin. Dia mesti confident dan yakin kerana mereka sudah diberi yang terbaik.
The minister was met after the Aeon charity run at Anjong Floria earlier today. She also expressed her gratitude to national swimmer Q Ho Yen and shooter Jonathan Wong for their hard work at the events. Hannah said she would be travelling to Paris on the 31st of July to support the remaining athletes. Earlier during the event, Hannah and Aeon Malaysia Foundation President Dato' Iskandar Sarudin presented a donation of 1 million ringgit to the Aeon Kasih program to assist the B40 community with medical or treatment costs. Former Harimau Malaya coach Kim Pan-gon has been appointed as the head coach of South Korean K1 League club Ulsan HDFC. The 2023 K1 champions announced the development in a post on their official Facebook page today. Pan-gon officially resigned as the head coach of the Harimau Malaya on the 16th of July after 2 years and 4 months of leading Malaysia's national team. The South Korean coach decided to leave the team for personal reasons. Pan-gon highlighted during his tenure he had achieved many successes and felt fulfilled by leading the Harimau Malaya to various accomplishments. That's it from us this evening. In our top story, Malaysia applies to join BRICS. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Olivia Nicholas. Thanks for watching.